Aloha, and welcome to SUP FM, the podcast for stand-up paddleboarders everywhere. So with no further ado, let's get out on the water and on with the show. Here are your hosts, Nick and Simon.
Hi, John. Welcome to SUP FM.
Hi, thanks.
Oh, it's great to have you. Thanks for you coming all the way live from England, right?
Yeah, from the UK, from the beautiful Devon coastline down in the southwest.
We actually had a little look at your head office, and I think on Google Earth, it looks like you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, we are pretty much in the middle of nowhere. People can never find us, which is the way we like it. You know, we like to be. If you have to phone us up to find us, then you're not interesting enough to come here. We're quite close. We've got some good waters around. We have some rivers, some estuaries, and also some really good coastal paddling. So we're quite well positioned.
So you can be able to test the product really close by.
Yeah, we could be on flat water within 6 minutes, and we can probably be in this on coastal waters in about 25. So yes.
So how often do you get out to paddle?
Yes, as often as possible, really. I mean, this week I haven't been out this week, but this weekend coming I'll be out, and a few times a week. That's the normal plan.
Great. But I'd just like to chat a little bit about the technology in the SUP industry and how it's changed, because you guys started in 2008, right?
Yeah, that's kind of when we had the idea to form the brand, and we've been there for a while. And
so how have you seen the advances of technology in stand-up paddleboards over the last few years?
Yeah, and obviously we're in the inflatable side of things, so that's moved on a pace really from the early beginnings and the early materials, mostly because the brands and have forced it that way because of the requirements for new materials or different types of thicknesses and things. So obviously the inflatable paddleboard material wasn't designed purely for inflatable paddleboards or originally for paddleboards. It was for other industries and other markets. So we were originally just using what was available, and then we've been able to sort of change it, adapt it to us. So for us, the major interest is in inflatable products, and we've seen a good change in that.
And your boards use PVC, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, all inflatable boards are pretty much PVC.
Was it always that way? I mean, was the first inflatable board made of PVC?
Yeah. It's always been the way.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think from what I understand is that the inflatable boards seem to be divided into two different distinct categories. The single skins and the 4-layer boards.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that?
Yeah. I mean, you could just buy the material at stock and put a seam around the outside to keep the air inside, and you can make yourself a board, but as we would know those as single layer boards, and yeah, they're a board as such, I suppose, but they're not that effective. They lack the stiffness and the performance that you really were after. And that's our kind of aim at Red Paddle is to produce a board that feels authentic. It's not a compromise, and so that's where the extra layers, the rail constructions, the pressures, the thickness of the boards all come into play. So yeah, there's two major constructions. One is single layer, one is double layer, but of course then you've got multiple different types of rail construction, and the rail construction plays a huge part in the shape, consistency of the board, but also in the stiffness and durability of the board. So that's another major consideration.
Okay, and the density of the drop stitching, does that really play a role in the stiffness as well, or the rigidity?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it definitely plays part in the rigidity because it's related to pressure. So if you've got more threads inside your board, it can support more pressure. It makes the board slightly heavier, but of course, we're really concerned about performance. That authentic paddleboarding experience you get when you paddle the board and what it feels like. That's what we're aiming.
Okay. So what do you say to people who are, die-hard paddleboard fanatics, and they say, I don't want to paddle an inflatable.
Yeah, well,
a blow-up board.
I think the opinion is changing across the whole industry, and particularly the hardcore guys. But of course, I say to those guys, well, what do you want to use it for? If you want to put in rail-to-rail carving turns and throw the tail out on a surf wave, or you want to go and race against Conor Baxter or Danny Ching, and be up there in the top 10 in the world or top 20 in the world, events like Battle of the Paddle, then yeah, sure, don't go and buy an inflatable board. That's not the board for you. You go and invest a lot of money in carbon technologies and get down the gym. That's gonna be your winning thing. But if you, in my mind, for what we're seeing as the mass market consumer, the kind of the guy or girl that goes paddling the weekend with friends and family for a social activity or for fitness, but it's generally it's a vehicle they're using to travel around on. A bit like you would buy a bike and pedal around the town or city or up in the hills for fun at the weekend, rather than being a lycra clad carbon bike owning nutcase that counts calories and carbohydrates. I can say nutcase because a lot of my friends do that, and they are nuts. But that's the difference.
But saying that as well, I remember Dave Kalama seemed to write an open letter a few months ago, I think, about changing the whole race structure into inflatable paddleboards. You must have been delighted to hear that.
Yeah, that's good. Well, when we started making race boards, for example, there was a consideration internally with us at the brand sitting down and think, well, let's make a one design class. But actually, after talking about it, I thought, hang on, no, let's not make a one design class. That's almost opposite to what we want to do, because we want the inflatable board initially to be judged against all others. Let's not pigeonhole it. Let's not ring fence it down the end of the beach and say, look, it's a special class. You have to have a special board to paddle in it. And so our aim was always to try and develop that board so it was as good as a hardboard, or was comparable. So for what Dave was saying was absolutely correct. There could be a time when that would make sense to have everyone racing on inflatable boards. It definitely would make the cost of travel, would open up events worldwide to people. Really address that issue of transporting product and boards around the world. So yeah, I of course agree with him, but it's whether or not the community wants to accept it, and that's really, you can't force it on them. That's athletes are opinionated people, and they will always go for the best product almost at any cost. So you can't force them to do something. You can't say everyone's going to race on inflatable boards, because unless they want to, they won't do it. So we're not pushing that point necessarily, but we definitely think, yes, it's possible, it could happen, and why not? We would definitely embrace it if it happened.
Sure. I think, just correct me if I'm wrong, but Nash seems to be doing a one design race series with their inflatable.
Yeah, they do.
Right?
They've done one for a while, and they would. Yeah. Okay. And we just chose not to go down that route because I felt that one design inhibits development, because it's one design in its very nature. You're saying, and unless you're changing it every year, in which case it's not one design, you're kind of stuck. You'll get stuck with an old product, and the speed of which things are happening now. If you were 3 years ago saying I said one design class, and you're going to keep it for 10 years, then it's going to be like paddling a dinosaur, in 10 years time. So we didn't really want to necessarily go down that route.
Okay, but with Red Racing, how do you do? Are you sponsoring children's initiatives? Because I saw something about some red boards were available for kids to race. They just have to hop on and ride.
Yeah, so we have the Max Race, which is the 10.6 Max Race, which is a kids racing board. It has our patented stiffening system on the side. It's proper race shape. It's race colours. It's a real board for the younger paddler. And actually this weekend we have an event in Mallorca in Spain, which is part of the Euro Tour, and that's got got a kids race, and everyone is one design racing on the Max Race. And the same in the UK, we've got a bunch of events happening where we have kids racing on the Max Race to just try and give them a step up, because we've all been there with kids, getting involved in competition, and you're gonna smash the thing to pieces. So having an inflatable that kind of works. It's safer for everybody. It's easier to travel around with, and it kind of ticks all the boxes for a kid's piece of equipment.
Yeah, because that's the first thing that kids do in my school. They just jump on the boards.
Of course.
And so it's nice that I've also got a few reds, so they don't generally destroy them, which is nice.
Good.
But as far as technology goes in the industry, have you seen? I saw something that a guy developed in Mauritius or Reunion. It was basically a half inflatable. I'm not sure if you came across that.
Yeah, actually, we did that about 18 months ago. We have, if you were here in the office, I could show you. But we had a hardtail system, and it was. We had quite a long way down the development route with it. Really, it was very similar to Matt Pendle's board. I know Matt, and we actually stopped the development of it really because Not because it didn't work; it did work, but it didn't add enough of an advantage to really think. It wasn't comparable to. So we had a 9-foot board. It wasn't comparable to a 9-foot hardboard in real, true surfing rail-to-rail performance. And so when that was the case, we think, well, actually, who's going to buy this? Who would actually take this as a product? Because you probably, if you're really into surfing and you want to travel with your board, which is ultimately why Matt's done it, is I think most people would take the pain of paying the excess baggage or getting the baggage handler damage. They would do that to allow them to have the hardboard rather than taking a compromise of having an inflatable board. So, I mean, I like what he's done. It's good, and I'm sure he'll develop it further. But we had attentions elsewhere. We had motivations to do other things, and so we put that project on ice for the now. But yeah, we had it fully done about 18 months ago.
That's great. So what other curious projects have you got lurking around the headquarters?
You have to come and open the special door and have a look inside. But
sounds like a Bond factory.
Yeah, we do have we have a workshop area and a design studio. So we do a lot of. So we have a 3D printer. We do a lot of 3D printing prototypes. So whether it's a handle or a leash attachment or a paddle clip or something like that, we can use our 3D printing technology to prototype that here much quicker than we could before. And that comes down to all parts of the board. We actually even would print out a board shape, so look at it, in miniature, to have a look at how it looks, the lines of it and stuff. And we do various things. So our Titan pump, for example, which is our new super fast pumping process, we pretty much built the whole thing out of 3D printed parts to start with, and then slowly migrated it across to other, more solid prototyping for testing. But
the Titan pump sounds incredible. I'd love to get my hands on one. But some other people have said, that's just a gimmick. So I said to them, well, have you tried it? So, and they said no. But how real is it? I mean, does it actually really, really have the time?
Yeah, we're not into gimmicks. It's 100% real. I mean, there's a consideration, as you'll know, if anyone will know, if they pumped up an inflatable board. There's two considerations when you're pumping a board, and that's the time it takes you and the effort required to reach your desired pressure, whatever that pressure might be. And so those two things are actually you could split those out into two further points, and that's volume and pressure, and they're two almost completely separate things. So volume obviously is how much air you get inside the board. So when you're pumping up a board that is, let's say it needs 300 litres of air, you've got to get 300 litres of air from the atmosphere that you're standing in, squeeze it down a small pipe and put it in a board. But obviously that takes time and it takes effort. Now the quickest way to get that air into a board is to have a really big, like a dustbin-sized pump that you just push down on 5 times and your board's full of volume. But then you've got to put the pressure on top of that. You've got to load the pressure on top. And so that, if you try to do then push your dustbin lid down, it's not going to go anywhere because you're pushing too much volume into the board. So what we try to do is obviously we understood that you've got to get the volume in, but then you've got to be able to then basically change gear so you can put the pressure in on top, because you need to be able to push less volume per stroke when you get to the pressure phase. So the Titan pump works by having 2 cylinders that combine into one airflow. So as you're pumping in a 2-cylinder mode, you're getting that air into the board much quicker. And you can all appreciate, whether it's a board that you've pumped up or a beach lilo or an airbed, that you're standing there for a couple of minutes and you're looking at the thing and thinking, is this even going up? Is this thing? Am I wasting my time? And that's kind of what happens when you've got a pump for a paddleboard. People are pumping away for ages thinking, I'm not sure this is working. But the Titan pump, because it's putting in so much air, I mean, the velocity per stroke that you pump, there's a speed of air that you pump out of that pump is 61 miles an hour. Compare that to about 28 miles an hour on a standard paddleboard pump. So you can imagine 61 miles an hour of air going into your board, that's going to pump it up really fast. Of course, it gets to a point where it's too difficult. So you just flick a switch. It then exhausts the air from the larger chamber, and you then get down to a high pressure chamber, which is a narrower chamber. It's got widened handles, set back feet, so the ergonomics are correct. So actually, you can pull up to high pressure much, much easier. So it's by far and away not a gimmick. It is 100% real. It makes a massive difference.
So I'm totally sold. How do I get that?
Good.
But are they for sale at the moment, or just through distribution?
Yeah, they're available with all our new boards, basically. So if you buy a 2015 board, you can get a Titan pump with a board, and at the moment they're not available as a standalone item, but we foresee that would happen eventually in the future.
Okay. Great. Is anybody else copying that, or is it a red patent? Or
It's our registered design. Yeah, I'm sure people are trying to copy it, but it's actually quite a difficult thing to copy because the concept is there, but actually you've got to be able to, build the molds and to get the channeling of the air correct and the size of the chambers correct and stuff. So it's not a straightforward copy, but well, we're focused.
I mean, it's a fantastic idea. I suppose it evolved basically from the larger, the two types of pumps that you had previously, and you just married them together.
Yeah,
right?
basically with a little bit of clever switching at the top. Yeah. I mean, that's it. We went through so many prototypes to come, we wanted to go away from this idea of double action, because double action pumps are where you push down and then you pull up and you pump on them both up and then a downstroke. That's where we started 6-7 years ago. That's what we had. And we moved away from it really quickly because we realized pulling up, you're using your arm muscles, and who are the people that struggle the most to pump a paddleboard up are the lighter weight people who don't have big muscles, don't have big arm muscles. So pulling up is only good for a few strokes until you get too tired. So then you end up having to switch that bit off, and then you only work on the downstroke. So then you're back to kind of square one. So we did a lot of development on it.
So what about electric pumps? Have you been down that route?
Yeah, I mean there are pumps available. I mean electric pumps. You've got a couple of issues. One, that the standard sort of 12-volt cigarette lighter attachments into your car, they don't have enough power to power a pump that's capable of pushing a really high volume and high pressure. So when you end up basically melting the dashboard of your car, I mean, you won't, the thing that the fuse will blow then, but that's the basic concept. So you've got to then go with the crocodile clip onto the car battery. Well, if any of us drive a modern car, then it's quite difficult to find the battery these days. They're really well buried underneath some, if you've got a van, it's under the floor, you've got to unscrew the floor panel to get it to it. So that's one consideration. Then you've got batteries, obviously, but batteries need charging up, so you still need a charging point. And then batteries are heavy, pumps are heavy. And again, you have the same consideration. You have to have volume and pressure, and your average 50 quid, 30 quid, £30, €30 car tire pump that you can buy from auto spares places. They're great for pumping up car tires, which have probably 20 litres of volume, but we're talking 300 litres of volume. So you'll be staring at that thing forever, going, is this going up? And it's rattling away in a car park, noise pollution everywhere. And you could have pumped up 2 boards in the time it takes to pump up one of those, probably with one of those. So that doesn't really work. It works to top it up once you've hand pumped it. And there are some other, there's some pretty good ones actually. There's a good Bravo BTP 12 pump that goes to about 14.5 psi. But yeah, it's the same with the hand pump. You've got the issue of volume and pressure, and that's there's not really anything that's on the market that's affordable really that and as of the right size and weight that works electrically. So they're available. So we don't say buy them.
So we can get our workout from the Titan pump rather. Much better idea.
Yeah, well, you're going to get less of a workout because it's easier and quicker. But our thing is that hand pumping is the best solution, unless you want to spend a lot of money or you have direct. You've got our whole workshop and office here is wired for air. So we have a huge compressor tucked away in the back, and that's feeding through these airlines everywhere. So pretty much in any room you're in here, you could pump a board up with an airline, because we do that quickly for testing and stuff. But this thing is the size of a family car. You're not really taking that to the beach, have you? So
that sounds incredibly cool. But just talking about pumping up boards, I'm sure you've come across the SIPA self-inflated board, which has just been launched on Kickstarter. What do you think of that about that? Because it's got a little engine in it as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Again, we did a bit of development about 18 months ago. We started doing some development with companies like WaveJet to integrate propulsion systems into paddleboards. And I suppose, like a lot of things, we looked at that cost of that is huge. That's actually going to be an expensive board to buy, especially when you're talking about shipping around the world. And then you've got batteries and lithium batteries. They're not that easy things to ship, and a lot of those batteries aren't that easy to charge up either. You have to be pretty careful how you charge them up, because otherwise you'd be setting your house on fire. So there's some pretty major considerations with those. But I like the idea of having something that you push a button, it pumps the board up. I haven't seen this since Liverpool, so I don't know the pressure it achieves. But you're not going to achieve the higher pressures through that system. I doubt. But it works. And if you're too lazy to paddle, then we'll turn the engine on. But come on, we're doing this for a bit of fitness. We want to.
Yeah, for sure.
We want to keep that. We want to keep that beer belly down. After you've gone to the paddleboard, you're going to paddle home and work it off. But no, great concept. That's what you need in the industry, isn't it? People driving, doing different things and experimenting, and well done to those guys.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And it looks very much like the 11 Sport, so
yeah, well,
it's a good looking board.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's go to the history of Red Paddle Co. And because you started in 2008, when obviously paddleboarding was around before then.
Yeah.
When did you personally realize that SUP was not just a fad?
Well, I don't think we ever really saw it as a fad, actually, even from day one. I think like a lot of people, when we first saw it, it wasn't that we were questioning whether it was a fad. We just thought, well, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to stand on a board and paddle it? And then, we just tried it and thought, oh yeah, I understand now. I get it. So that, very quickly, any issues that we had with it were washed away. And I don't think, from that first experience which was in 2007, I don't think we ever then thought, this is a fad. We could just see the potential for it, both from a personal perspective, and the enjoyment perspective, all the things it opened up to you how to do. We're all surfers and windsurfers, so it just started opening up doors that were never there before. And then, of course, you see it from a business perspective, and you think, well, this has got legs, this can go somewhere. So, but obviously we came across that whole fad thing. People think, oh, it's a fad. And well, we just kept on going. We didn't listen to that. So, luckily, and that's where we started really. And we started Red Paddle really because we wanted to offer a different solution. We could see that there was hard boards, obviously, and there were hard boards around, and there was some objections to the size of those and the storage and transportation and all the things we know about. And of course, we didn't invent inflatable boards. They were around before we started, in very small numbers. But we just saw it and thought, we have our background here is in windsurfing sail manufacturing. So designing and building windsurfing sails. So again, it's a textile-based product, not an epoxy-based product, a hard-based product. So it uses a similar thought process, gluing panels, joining panels. And so it was for us quite an easy transition to look at employing the design ideas from that technology into the paddleboard. So that's where Red Paddle Co came from, because we thought we could do a better job than is currently available.
And how did the company grow? Because obviously you didn't start as big as you are right now.
No. I think we've grown like a lot of paddleboard companies. We were there early, so we were first mover advantage to a point, and we are very dedicated paddleboarders ourselves. We're paddlers first and business people second. So we kind of just grew organically in that we set it up. We created the brand, we created the product, and then hopefully our plan was that our passion would do the rest, and people would contact us and ask about it, and we'd then be able to bring them on board. And that's basically how it happened. We set the brand up, we had the vision for where we wanted to go, and we just worked day by day and worked with each one. Everyone that contacted us from each country and each area to grow the brand. So yeah, it was. We never had a map of how we were going to get there. We just had this. I guess we had a dot in the horizon where we wanted to get to, and we have a plan how to get there.
Are you at liberty to discuss more or less board volumes and how many you sell in a year from starting more or less to more or less how many boards you sell every year now?
I don't want to discuss quantities really, no. But I know I can say that the inflatable market is and will continue to become the largest segment of the market almost without doubt, because of the fact that it meets the demands of the Mr. Average. And I'm Mr. Average these days. I'm not a hardcore surfer guy. I'm going out with friends and family and enjoying the sport and enjoying being outside, and that's where the inflatable market boards are. They're really opening up the sport for those people. So yeah, the growth is good. The opportunities are great, and I think the future is looking really good.
Okay, let's talk about Mr. Average, because we had an interesting chat with Anthony Hoekmis from suptrotter.com. I'm not sure if you're aware of their website.
Yeah.
And his analysis saying the average paddleboarder on his site is 45 years old, which is exactly my age.
Yep.
So I'm just wondering if you reckon that's spot on, or is it more or less about the right age?
I'd say our profile customer is somewhere between the ages of 37 and 49 from our research. So yeah, 45 would be about bang in the middle. So it's about right, yeah.
Okay, and I saw a survey the other day saying there were about 150,000 boards sold in the USA in 2015, and I'm just wondering if trying to get to some more or less ballpark figures about how many people are out there paddleboarding, and like you say, it's very difficult to get an industry overwide analysis. But what do you think? Do you think it's 100,000, 300,000, 500,000?
Actually, people paddling. I mean, I'd say it's probably 500,000 people paddling across the world, maybe more. And yeah, actually, their own boards probably a little bit less than that. But there's people, there's guys, rental centers and hire locations and stuff. And so, I think global sales probably are in a region of about 150,000 units for this year.
And in the future, do you reckon it's going to continue at this breakneck pace that it's expanding right now?
Yeah, I can't really see why it won't, really, because if you still, and the best thing is you still can talk to people and you say, yeah, I do, I go stand up paddleboard, and they're like, what's that? And you go, great. You don't know what it is. That's fantastic. I mean, if you say to someone, I play football, like, oh yeah, everyone knows what football is, so, yeah. But not everyone knows what paddleboarding is. So you still haven't reached everybody. And the fact that you can paddle in, pretty much anywhere there's water, it's not surf orientated, it's not coast orientated. There's huge populations in cities, and again, another reason why inflatable boards are a great concept. So yeah, I think it kind of works. It works well for everybody.
It's amazing. As I go around telling people about paddleboarding here in Portugal, the majority of people haven't got a clue what it is. It's unbelievable. Yeah. And it's all over the media. But something that's all over the media at the moment is these XL-sized boards.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Do you think, are you guys going to start selling those commercially, or do you now?
Yeah, we do sell them now. Yeah, we sell them. But mostly they get bought by commercial operations, by rental centres and schools and stuff, and corporate guys, team building stuff. And I think there's a great market for those products, and again it takes the sport into a slightly different area, where there would be you wouldn't be able to do it with a hardboard. You wouldn't be able to create that board with a hardboard. It's too big. You can transport it. It's too heavy. And it just opens up the sport into a fun group activity, which paddleboarding breaks down the barriers of social interaction in water sports. Most water sports are fairly antisocial, particularly high end. When you get to the high end, surfing, windsurfing, kite surfing, you're doing on bleak beaches, and you're trying to get away from other people who don't want to be near somebody else. You want to have your own space, which partly causes all the conflict in those sports, or particularly surfing in the lineups. And so paddleboarding breaks those barriers down immediately anyway. But then even better is to get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people on a board. And suddenly you've got this social gathering, and they're all together, and it's a fantastic thing. I don't know if you've paddled one, but when you do, you just can't stop smiling,
No, I haven't, but I saw the Battle of the Thames. I think they had a race actually.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So do you reckon there's going to be XL races soon, like proper ones? I don't know if that was just a joke or if it's a real race.
Well, there was. Yeah, we've had 2 events with races now. So it's. I think. Racing isn't necessarily a big part of the sport, but it's a good fun thing to do, and why not do it in a team? It kind of works quite well.
Well, John, it's been fantastic chatting to you, and I just really want to thank you very much for your time.
No problems.
It's been great to hear all about Great Paddlecare.
Yeah,
thank you for listening to SUP FM, the #1 podcast for stand-up paddlers wherever you are. If you like what you've heard, please leave us a review on iTunes. Until then, we'll see you on the water.